Uncharted 4, there you go.
There it is.
Will be a, quote, lighthearted romp, according to Naughty Dog co-president Evan Wells. Quote, Uncharted is a completely different franchise and appeals to its audience for completely different reasons, said Wells. I don't think that The Last of Us marks a new direction in tone that all of our future games are going to take on. We'd alienate a lot of Uncharted fans. We want to keep it a lighthearted romp. I think from a technical standpoint, we've learned some things from The Last of Us that will feed into Uncharted. In fact, it strengthens our desire to keep them distinct.
A lighthearted romp.
Yeah.
You pointed out all these occurrences from just the trailer and the name.
Right.
Yeah. So first of all, the game's called A Thief's End.
Yeah.
Which is not about him finishing a book. So it sort of implies that either his career is over or he dies.
Right.
Neither of which are very, I mean, I guess his career ending could be nice.
Happy.
He goes
He
to
rides off.
retirement. But even then, he'll go to some island. He'll be like, "Oh, you might be some treasure on this island."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, come on, you're retired."
I got to find all these little Incan things around.
But yeah, the trailer was entirely bleak. You
Right.
know, it was him waking up in a puddle with a fly on him. He's
He's busted up. There's skeletons in the freaking
they're
trees.
There's skeletons
Cages.
hanging in cages. They're like dead pirates, and these they put them in like these hanging jail cells where they rotted to death. They were probably picked apart by
A lighthearted
birds.
romp.
It'll be fun.
Everything's gray and dark, and he's like, "Oh, Sully, I gotta go do this."
It's funny though, because I mean, we always talk about it. Uncharted is lighthearted, right?
Yeah.
Drake kills 3 million pirates, and no one ever
Yep.
thinks like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Yep, no one ever thinks about it.
He kisses
But
the girl and gets the treasure at the end.
I think in a way that we were able to find sort of the dark tones in the Uncharted games. I'm replaying The Last of Us now,
Yeah.
and I'm actually, because I know everything that's happening already, spoilers, none of it's good. It's called The Last of Us. It's a very bleak game. But because I know all of those points that it hits, I'm actually able to identify the humor in it a little bit
Sure.
more,
Right.
and sort of the absurdity and the ridiculousness of it all. Like when I sneak up on somebody now, and when say you have like Tess and Ellie and they're running behind you, but they do the thing where they run 10 feet ahead and run back.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're gonna get seen. And no one sees them. They come back and I sneak up on this guy and I hit him with a brick and I'm like, oh, that's really funny. I'm able to turn that into sort of a comedy game the same way we were able to turn Uncharted into something very dark. Because we've joked about it on the show before, but when Drake kills a security guard in a fountain,
Yeah, that was
and
mine.
puts him face down,
Yeah, he drowns. And he drowns. There's no way to save that
you
guy.
can't save that
Yeah,
guy. And that's the night shift.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one's coming until like the 10 o'clock the next morning. Somebody comes by and is
All
like,
these bloated corpses in the
gotta
pool.
open the museum. I don't know why this museum opens at 10 a.m. It's a very lazy museum.
Yeah.
But yeah, you find a bunch of bloated dead corpses covered in flies, and then, it's a lighthearted romp.
It's funny. That's what's happening with me in The Last of Us too. Like, I was pretty vocal when I first beat it in PlayStation 3, where I was like, I'm done with it. I'm putting it away. I'm not going to try to trophy hunt it. That's not. I had such an experience with it.
Yeah.
But then I started getting that itch, especially after I played Left Behind again, where I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. I would like to replay it. And so I was replaying it over the weekend on my Twitch channel, and talking to people and knowing everything that's going to happen, and not like talking to people during cutscenes and stuff. Like, I totally am not invested in it in the same way, and I want to stop playing it now because I don't want to, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Tarnish.
Thank you. I was trying to say tinker, and that wasn't
got you.
right.
No.
High five.
Yeah, you can tinker.
Oh, I don't want to
It's not a
tarnish.
good tinker, though.
I don't want to tarnish the story I had in my head. What I thought of that. But like knowing everything, there are more parts where it's like, all right, now I got to go through all this to get to Bill. Ugh, all right, you know what I mean? Like I enjoyed not knowing where it was going, and knowing where it's going now. It's like,
That actually, it got me. I'm going through the exact same thing with The Last of Us right now. Exactly the same thing. We were talking about this the other day, but it's actually got me to the point where I don't know if there's a lot of sort of inherent value for me repeating the viewing of anything I enjoy anymore. Like
Yeah.
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy over the weekend.
Right.
And I absolutely loved it. But I was talking to people who saw it 3 times already. And they're like, yeah, it really holds up with the 3rd time, but I started to notice some flaws and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, you spent like 6 hours of your life
Right.
in 3 days seeing this movie already. Like, I don't know if there's any value for me to do that. And I think with games like The Last of Us, you and I said afterwards, we're done. Like, we beat that game. There's games that you go, like, I remember Heavy Rain. You beat that game 13 times, right?
Yeah.
You did an article where you got every single
I had every
ending.
ending,
And I remember sitting there and I read your article and I'm like, this is incredible, but I couldn't do this myself because my playthrough of Heavy Rain was my playthrough.
Right.
And I wanted it to just be, that's my story forever. But now, you have HD remakes happen every few years. Like even Resident Evil Remake, I have a vision of that game in my brain that I want to kind of stay that way forever. But I'm going to replay it, and that might change. So I think I'm done doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be Johnny one time.
There's so many games that come out, you just don't have time to go through.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of had the same thing with The Walking Dead, like season
Right.
1 with
yeah.
Clementine and Lee. Like that was my story. I don't want to change that.
Yeah.
Like I want that memory of like that one playthrough, and that's it. I don't want to. Well, I mean, I did kind of want to go back and see like what would happen if I,
Sure.
just killed this walker instead of
Right.
like, letting it get Clem, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's a great one too, because there are so many like very down to the wire, deep decisions you make in that game.
Right.
And to just sort of like go back the next time around and be like, oh, Bobby died last time. I don't give a crap about him. Let's go save Jesse or whatever.
Yeah.
None of those.
Yeah,
are
there's a
actual
different
characters.
feeling for me for sure from season 1 to season 2, because season 1 I reviewed. So season 1 I'd finish it and then go back and do all those moments,
Yeah.
right? Because you can rewind to those moments and see how it branches out. And I wanted to see a little bit of everything. But for season 2, for sure, like especially episode 4 that just came out and I played through. No spoilers, don't worry. I totally missed. I forget, we were doing something. We were at something when the trailer came out, so I didn't even rewind the trailer. So I literally sat down to play it, and I was like, "This is the first one since probably episode 1 that I mean, episode 1 of like episode 1. You know what I mean? Like where I knew nothing about it, right? Because even with season 2, episode 1, like I knew things off the record about what I was about to get into and yada yada. But yeah, to sit down and not know what the story was going to be in the characters, and like for sure there was that intense of like the choices pop up and it starts counting down. I'm like, oh god, I don't know.
Yeah,
This one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have not gone back to see the other way. Like I'm just like I'm fine living the way my Clem lives.
Right.